Welcome to Pay Studios. Today we are very pleased to present the gifted trumpeter, singer, and recent JUNO Award winner, Bria Skonberg, who will be performing material from her latest OK Records release, With a Twist. Bria, can you first introduce the band and then maybe tell us what we're going to get into as the first tune?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. Really a pleasure to be here, and I brought with me some excellent players, human beings, and characters. On the piano, this is Mathis Picard, originally from France. Originally from Canada as well, British Columbia. On the bass is Eugene Zbigniew Cronin I. And on the drums, from Jackson, Mississippi, is Darrian Douglas. Yeah.
What do you want to kick it off with?
Well, I thought, in the spirit of summer, I'm going to play an original song, which is about falling in love in New York, which is a crazy thing to do. But also wonderfully crazy. It's called Same Kind of Crazy, when you find that right person.
Beautiful.
All right, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I like to run in the rain, feel the droplets getting colder. The chill runs through my veins, makes me act a little bolder. With the sidewalk as my stage, I sing a little louder, and as the pigeons scatter above the people's chatter, I hear a harmony, a baritone so blue, it caught me by surprise. A little out of tune, but full of passion and a pride. I turn around to meet the voice that entered my sonata, and as we land on a fermata, I knew it was the start of a different tune. Oh, maybe you're the same kind of crazy. Maybe I'm just crazy over you. What's so strange about acting so strangely? Maybe 1 + 1 is 1 or 2. Yes, crazy is what crazy people do. You cue the violins, they've never sounded better. The melody begins, I hope it lasts forever. You look me in the eye, signaling the fanfare of the brass. So we take a chance and we start to dance straight into the stars. Oh, maybe you're the same kind of crazy. Maybe I'm just crazy over you. What's so strange about acting so strangely? Maybe 1 + 1 is 1 or 2. Yes, crazy is what crazy people do. People do. Yes, crazy is what crazy people do. Thank you.
Same Kind of Crazy from With a Twist. Now, you mentioned that's about a song about falling in love in New York. You have another New York-centric tune on the new album. Your original, isn't it? How I Know. It's full of images of New York.
Yes, yeah, of course.
And that's cool. Meanwhile, you are from Chilliwack, British Columbia.
I am very proud to be from British Columbia, especially Chilliwack. It's in the heart of the Fraser Valley, just about an hour and a half east of Vancouver, British Columbia. But I've been in New York for almost 7 years, and as I like to say, time flies when you're paying rent.
Yeah, and I remember when you first came to town, you were sort of in the hot jazz scene, so to speak. You were a co-founder of the Hot Jazz Festival. Mm-hmm. Since that time, you've been expanding your horizon, so to speak, and your new album represents the eclectic nature of all the music that you love, and it's a very ambitious program of tunes. Can you talk about it?
Thank you. Sure. Well, you know, I've always been interested in a lot of different kinds of music, and to be honest, when I moved to New York, I saw it as kind of an opportunity to try a bunch of new things, because I was strictly in hot jazz, recreation, doing a lot of Louis Armstrong type stuff, which I love, and is a very important part of musical education, especially in jazz, to learn that stuff. But when I moved to New York, I was just overwhelmed by the sights and the sounds and the smells and the people and the culture and everything. So I just immediately started sponging that and trying to infuse that into my music in a lot of ways. And so writing music, doing original music, has been a great playground to access and experiment with those ideas. But also, I was very lucky to tap into an incredible community that is here in New York. And there are pockets of it literally all over the world that focus on the roots of jazz music from, you know, the beginning of America's history with jazz music. And so it's just, you know, the more, even as I stretch farther out, the more that I learn about the history of the music, especially where it came from, this wonderful country from an immigrant culture, and the sounds, the rhythms again. It's just been a very satisfying experience. And I've just learned to love it even more. I've gotten to do a lot of work with jazz at Lincoln Center, too. A lot of these guys have, which has been an education for me, especially coming from Canada, also learning about the roots and the history of the music. So the hot jazz scene, yes, there's a hot jazz festival that happens and lots of events year-round. And I also co-direct a hot jazz camp that just had its second year, and we're planning the third one for next year.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad
this
you think
next
so.
tune you're going to play is hi-hat, trumpet, and rhythm, which is Valaida Snow. Is that how you say it?
I believe Valaida.
Valaida?
I'm sure she got it the same way.
Now, she's a pioneering trumpeter, singer, and colorful character from the 20s and 30s. Can you talk about her?
Yeah, she grew up in the South. She had a big family, and she played a lot of different instruments, and eventually focused on the trumpet. Louis Armstrong called her the world's second greatest trumpet player, which is still very much, you know, I'll take it, you know, whatever Louis says. Yeah, she loved living big. She liked cars and furs and, you know, young guys, and having a good time. She spent a lot of time over in Europe. She was friends with Josephine Baker and the like. And she, you know, she had a couple of hits. This hi-hat, trumpet, and rhythm, which is what we're going to play, was her biggest hit. But she had played, we're still finding out things, like she had jammed with Bud Powell at the Apollo, or she had like all these kind of interesting, you know, she was a real deal musician.
Wow.
But you know, I don't, you know, as such, being in her position as a African-American female trumpet player, it just didn't get documented in the same way. So, but there are some books out that talk about her life and her story.
Cool, and I understand you are going to scat on this tune?
Well, she scats on hers. I do my own interpretation, sure.
Let's swing it.
Yeah, all right, cool. 1, 2, 1, 2, I got my hi-hat, trumpet, and rhythm, and I'm ready to swing. Hi, hi, ho, ho, won't you swing with me? I got a brand new song to go with them, and I'm ready, yes indeed. Hi, hi, ho, ho, won't you swing with me? Yes, set your tempo, not fast, not slow. Get ready, let's go. Everybody swing sick. I've got my hi-hat, trumpet, and rhythm, and I'm ready to swing. Hi, hi, ho, ho, won't you swing with me? Yes, I got my hi-hat, trumpet, and rhythm, and I'm ready to help me. See, ba-dee-da-doo-dee-doo, but won't you swing with me? I got a brand new song to go with them, and I'm ready, yes indeed. Let-doo-dee-doo, but won't you swing with me? Yes, set your tempo, not fast, not slow. Get ready, let's go. And everybody swing sick. I got my hi-hat, trumpet, and rhythm, and I'm ready to swing. Won't you swing with me? Hi, hi, oh, come on, let's hear some bass on this dude. John Cronin. Can't you see? I've got my hi-hat, trumpet, and rhythm. Yeah. Darrian Douglas on the hi-hat.
Cool. Well, that's clearly the spirit. Armstrong is in there and your trumpet playing. But another thing about you is you convey a sense of joy in the music, which is also what Armstrong was all about. And you kind of picked up his spirit that way as well.
Yeah, he's been my main mentor for a long time, thanks to public school band directors that just put his music and his recordings into my ears and under my fingers. Like, I had my grade 11 band teacher told me to play Potato Head Blues, and I said, okay, because I was, 14. And so I tried. I'm still trying. But Louis was a great musician, a singer, entertainer, and a heck of a human being. There's one story about him that when he toured in Africa, 2 of the countries were at war. They literally called a ceasefire so that both sides could watch the Louis Armstrong concert, which is pretty incredible. If we could just kind of have that sort of ambassador and put him into the world today, maybe they'd be in a better place.
Well, he was the great ambassador for jazz, and
yeah,
you're carrying on in that number.
We all are. We're trying, Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, he's obviously an inspiration, but there are many other trumpeters that you have talked about. Clark Terry.
Yes.
And then Little Jazz, Roy Eldridge.
Yeah, I love all eras. Again, I treat music like food. You got to try it all. But some of my favorite trumpet players are really in that like hot jazz when it was becoming bebop and swing. So Roy Eldridge. I'm just gonna geek out here for a second. Where are my trumpet players? With Roy Eldridge and Charlie Shavers, especially. So work with the John Kirby Sextet. I'm a big fan of that. Clark Terry, Cootie Williams, lots of plunger stuff. The Ellington Band, any era. All those horn sections were great.
And then on the new album, the tune "Time to Go," the intro is a quote from Dizzy Atmosphere.
Yeah, Dizzy would have been 100 years old this year.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's a big year for jazz. It was
Monk,
historian Monk, Ella, Buddy Rich, and Dean Martin even, and it's the centennial of the first recorded jazz record by the ODJB. Now you know.
Dean Martin did a version of one of the tunes on your new album, Sway.
Yes, yeah. I listened to him a lot when I was a kid. I just enjoy watching his, if you look him up on YouTube, all the roasts that he does and just the way that he kind of swings his arm with a certain laissez-faire. I took a lot of inspiration. Also to relax when you're performing. For those of you that do perform or deal with nerves, just watch some Dean Martin.
There's a great clip of him with Armstrong from one of his variety shows.
For sure, yeah. Well, that's so much good stuff. Armstrong, Frank Sinatra, obviously, they're just having a ball.
And that same tune, Sway, was more recently covered by your countryman Michael Bublé.
Yeah. Well, and that was, a lot of the songs on the album, one of the challenges was, okay, there are iconic versions of these songs already in existence. 1, do we do them? And 2, if we do, how do we tackle them? And I say we because it was so much a collaboration between Matt Pearson, the producer, and Gil Goldstein, this awesome arranger, and myself. And so we do everything from, My Baby Just Cares for Me, which is synonymous at this point with Nina Simone, and obviously hi-hat. You just want to pay tribute to the people that iconicized it, but also, put our own spin on it. So that's why the whole album is kind of like with a twist. It's got some different influences in it. Sway we do as a very kind of pared down tango. Gil's arrangement is just gorgeous. There's strings and such. It's got a different sensitivity that makes me hear the songs in a different way. And
you do a very beautiful rendition of Leonard Cohen's "Dance Me to the End of Love."
Yeah, thanks. Well, that's the CanCon. We need a little bit of Canadian content and everything.
And you put your own stamp on Whatever Lola Wants.
Yeah, so that's one of those ones too where, okay, so many people have done it. And to be honest, when Matt Pearson brought that song to me, I kind of went, come on, everybody does that song. Are you sure I want to enter that? But first of all, Sarah Vaughan's version is incredible. And with a little bit of that inspiration. And once I figured out who my Lola was, which for me, I don't know, have you seen the movie Kill Bill? You guys seen Kill Bill?
Oh, yes.
Uma Thurman in this like yellow leather pantsuit.
Wow.
That's my Lola. So there's like this kind of retro 60s feel to it. I feel like once it gets into the horn solo, it's just kicking butt. And that to me, you know, brought the song to a new life for me to perform it. So hopefully, you know, and when people listen to it, whether it's the first time they've heard it or the 100th time they heard it, they can hear something fresh about it.
So are you going to play that tune?
We can.
Whatever Uma wants.
Whatever Uma wants, yeah. I mean, we have.
Now, in this case, it's whatever Bria wants. So
I know,
go on with it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Since we're chatting about it, I love it. I've grown to love it. Bop, bop, bop. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. And little man, little Lola wants you. Make up your mind to have no regrets. Resign yourself, recline yourself, you're through. I always get what I aim for, and your heart and soul is what I came for. Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. Take off your coat, don't you know you can do it? There's no exception to the rule. I'm irresistible, you fool. Give in. What I aim for, your heart and soul is what I came for. Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. Take off your coat, don't you know you can't win? You're no exception to the rule. I'm irresistible, you fool. Give in, give in, give in, give in. Et voila. Thank you. Yeah, fighting crime.
Beautiful. You just returned from touring Canada.
Yes, I had
several festivals, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different festivals in Canada. Great jazz in Canada year-round, but really there's a few weeks where everybody comes together. I played the Toronto Festival and the Montreal Jazz Festival for the first time, which is really special. Too short of a trip, but you know, always great to be home, especially after the JUNO thing was it's just really special to feel that pride with my country. And the JUNO award was for last year's album. Yes, Bria. Yeah. Yep, my first one. That album has a great story, too. It was actually crowdfunded. I collaborated with Matt Pearson, the producer, put a band together, and created this music that I was really excited about, which eventually got brought to the record label, OK, Sony, Masterworks, and then had the award. So really, again, as a crowdfunded album with 300 people plus chipping in and then going on that journey, it's been an incredible ride. I hope you have room on your shelf for another JUNO for this one coming up. I'll make room. Yeah, we'll see. Now, we talked about your trumpet influences. Can you speak about the vocalist that inspired you over time? Definitely.
So I didn't start singing openly until 9th grade, where I was Sandy in the big role of Grease in my middle school. So Olivia Newton-John. I loved all kinds of music. But for jazz, I started listening definitely to Ella and Billie Holiday early on as part of these compilations. But one of the first artists that really grabbed me was Anita O'Day. And we riffed a little bit about seeing that clip on Jazz on a Summer's Day at the Newport Jazz Festival. And for me, that was the moment where she sang Sweet Georgia Brown, 3 choruses, 3 totally different tempos, so swinging, so great. And I just dug into that moment, and we just grabbed up all her stuff, and then she'd just be somebody that I can still hang out with for hours at a time. You know, you find those artists that you're like, I'm just going to hang out with Anita for this walk for the next 2 hours. And I love how she has a really cool rasp timbre. I like how she embellishes melodies in such a cool way. I know I've heard stories of guys that played with her, and they thought that she was lost, and she just looked back and laugh, you know, because she's just bending the time in so many ways. And then some people that came after her, like June Christie, Chris Connor, I think those, I've paid attention to those vocalists. Sarah Vaughan, Nina Simone, too. I love a big, you know, a deep resonance, let alone, you know, the incredible messages that those women stood for. And, you know, and the guys, too. Frank Sinatra, you want to learn a melody, listen to Sinatra. Sinatra the Sands, incredible. Dean Martin. And stuff that's not considered jazz. One of my all-time favorites is Lauryn Hill, you know. And Ava Cassidy, it's great. Anything. Mariah Carey from the 90s, why not? You know, like, again, I fall in love with these, you know, these artists, their personalities. I think we love music. We get to love their music, then we get to love their, you know, get to know their personalities and like them that much more.
Right.
Or less.
There are some recordings of Anita O'Day here on the Paste Archives from Newport, one of which I remember is Four Brothers, and she's just burning on it. Burning. Is that here somewhere?
Yeah. If you guys at home don't know, but there's so many, there's so much music in these walls.
The Newport Archives you're amongst those concerts going back to 55.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So what else do you feel like playing today?
Well, we have there's another song that I wrote a long time ago, but it's stuck with me for many years, for many reasons. It's called So Is the Day. I'll just say that much, and I want the listener to kind of have their own experience with it.
And this is one you continue to play?
This is one I continue to play. It has evolved for me over time about its own meaning, and what it means in the moment is always different. So it's just nice to share more of myself with this audience.
Beautiful.
So Is the Day.
but I can't have you. So is the day that I write this song. I love you, but I can't have you. So here's the day that I write this song. I want you, but I can't have you. So here's the day that I sing this song. I want you, but I can't have you. So here's the day that I sing this song.
Thank you.
That was scary good.
It's scary, period.
It was
Good.
part New Orleans funeral dirge, part Screaming Jay Hawkins, I Put a Spell on You.
That makes sense. That
A
makes
little
sense.
bit of both.
Yeah.
No, that was powerful.
Thank you. Thank you. These guys, too. These guys, I want to give credit to my friends here.
Yeah,
because,
introduce them once again.
Yeah. Darrian Douglas on the drums. Sean Cronin on the arco bass on that. Mathis Picard on the piano. You know, and I think to be able to get to a place where you can play music like that, you want to be around people that you trust and love. And I appreciate you guys for letting me get all crazy all the time.
Well, clearly, New Orleans, you have an affinity with that music and probably that culture as well. And that maybe it's through Armstrong, but can you talk about that?
Yes. So I was exposed to the roots of jazz music, early jazz, New Orleans music, as a young teenager, just getting into playing. And I feel passionate about that because I feel like I started to learn how to improvise based on the way that the music was being created. So like as I learned about melodies and rhythms in jazz, it was about the time in jazz where that stuff was happening. For example, you know, not trying to overthink about chord scales or stuff that's overly cerebral at a time when you just need to know the basics. So I feel like one of the messages I like to put out is it's good if you're going to start your music education, start at the beginning. You know, if you read a book, start at the beginning. You get the character development. It's fun. So that's why, I grow to appreciate that music even that much more. New Orleans is about ensemble playing. It's not so much about one person all the time, as so many things are these days. And there's a real art to it, the way that, especially when I have an extra horn or two, how to make the ensemble work in the front line. It's really fun. It's really playing music. And New Orleans is New Orleans. You get, it's the food's good, the people are great, the spirit is strong. There's a real sense of community. And Darrian lived in New Orleans for a long time, played with Ellis Marsalis. And yeah, I think I had been playing jazz for several years before I realized myself I had been watching the movie but not reading the book, in the sense that I needed to go to New Orleans and experience music. And every time I go there, I just feel like I'm getting it on a, getting it on such a deeper level.
And the funk is the funkiest.
The funk! We love the funk.
You dig.
Yeah. Let's all go right now. Yeah.
That influence comes out a bit in your reimagining of this Ed Sheeran tune, Thinking Out Loud.
Yes.
Thinking Out Loud. Yeah, it's got like a little second line vibe, some kind of New Orleans feel in there.
Sure. Well, as Louis Armstrong said, there's only two kinds of music, good and bad. And this is a great song. Ed Sheeran is a heck of a songwriter. There's so much good music that's being put out all the time. And so Matt Pearson again suggested this tune, and I grabbed it and and put this kind of bass line to it, which to me was kind of reminiscent of some Ray Charles moves too. I'll let you make discern your own things from it, but there's definitely a New Orleans, there's a kind of Professor Longhair groove that happens. There's some Ray Charles influence. There's some gospel church stuff going on. These are just all the things that I heard in this otherwise very simple, modern tune.
Cool.
So,
Let's take it out with that one.
All right. Thinking Out Loud. 1, 2, 3, 4.
new album is With a Twist on OK Records. Bria, thank you so much for coming down today to Pace Studios, and all you guys, Bria and her fellas. It was wonderful. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. Once again, it's Mathis Picard on the piano, Sean Cronin on the bass, Darrian Douglas on the drums. Hope to connect with you all and everywhere, however you want to find me on Instagram or Facebook, please do. Thank you so much to Pace Magazine.